We think we know who it is, and it's not somebody affiliated with either party who's out videotaping everybody.
It might be one of the sovereigns. We have a few that have nothing better to do than to hang out.
Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my video. What you're about to hear is the official court audio from the Aaron Smith Levin trial on March 3rd, 2026, which I lawfully obtained through public records requests. I paid for this audio through the court system, just like anyone else has the right to do. For just the trial audio and the motion to eliminate, which happened on another day, it cost me $50, $25 for each CD. I paid for this audio. I didn't record it, okay? I was only there as an observer with an interest in the case due to Aaron Smith Levin's dealings involving Scientology and the city of Clearwater and the retaliation that he received. And I've been following this case from the beginning to document and cover what's happening. Now in this video, you'll also hear the judge mention a woman named Christine Scott. Christine is a former Florida state congressional candidate whose cases I have been following closely also. Her cases stem from a series of incidents where she was trespassed and arrested. First at a county courthouse where she was in the public law library trying to prepare for her cases. Then at a public event center within a park while working on legal paperwork. And later at a city council meeting when she attempted to address the council about those incidents but was prevented from speaking because the topic was not on the agenda.
No, actually you are, and I will file federal charges on this. You may not violate the law. You are.
I'm asking that
You are.
You leave with me.
You are.
I believe 2 of those cases were presided over, in part by the same judge you're about to hear in this audio. I personally attended one of those court hearings, and Christina actually attended my trial when I was retaliated against by the City of Clearwater City Council for something that I said at a city council meeting that the mayor didn't like, what was actually free speech. That case is currently on appeal. But before you listen to this audio, I need to clear something up. Because the narrative that's being pushed in this courtroom by Judge Kathleen T. Hessinger is not accurate. Again, I do not record inside courtrooms or inside the courthouse. There's a standing judicial order that prohibits recording in those areas, and I respect that, even though I have serious concerns about how broad or unconstitutional that damn order is. What I've always done, and what I'll continue to do, is record in publicly accessible places where recording is lawful. And I'll continue to publish official court audio that I legally obtain through public records request. And I pay for them bastards too. Even though I'll never make this money back, I don't do this for money. In fact, the situation they're talking about in this audio wasn't even me recording inside of the courthouse. Some lady that wasn't affiliated with either side of this court trial. Someone who was there because she doesn't like the defendant, Aaron Smith Levin. This lady was live streaming outside of the courtroom. When I saw it, I actually warned her. I told her there's a judicial order in place and that she might get arrested if the deputy saw her doing it. She didn't believe me and started arguing with me. So I just continued on my way to the bathroom. When I came back from the bathroom, there was a man standing there. They were right in each other's face, and both of them had their phones pointed at each other, recording each other arguing with each other. I kept walking past them, and I sat down. I was laughing a little bit, but I didn't know who either one of them were. So while they're in their courtroom, acting like I'm the one that's out there causing problems and violating rules, the reality is, I was doing the exact opposite. Now listen closely to what's said next. You'll hear the judge and others refer to the guy with the sunglasses and label him as a sovereign. That's clearly directed at me. Let's be clear, documenting government activity where it's lawful and sharing information with the public is not sovereign citizen behavior. It's protected activity. This fucking judge should know that. But labeling someone like that in a courtroom really matters. It can shape the perception. It can influence how people inside the courtroom and outside that courtroom can view a person, whether they admit it or not. And it raises concerns about impartiality and due process. And it doesn't stop there. The judge also says that the guy with the sunglasses cannot enter the courtroom unless the sunglasses come off. I let the bailiffs know that I had a medical condition and that these glasses were prescribed and needed for me to see, but they still wouldn't let me in. What wasn't acknowledged is that I've already explained it to this judge before, the one time that I was ever in her courtroom. The one time that I was ever in her courtroom was during the Christine Scott case. During that appearance, I informed the court that my sunglasses are medically necessary because I have a vision disability, and at that time, she allowed it. I suffered an eye stroke that left me with permanent damage, including extreme light sensitivity from the broken blood vessels and scar tissue. The sunglasses aren't optional. They're prescribed, and I need them to see clearer and to read. Even with the sunglasses, I still have to use my hands sometimes to shield my eyes from all of the canister lights for the majority of the time that I'm in the courtroom. So now the issue is even bigger than just courtroom rules. Now it's affecting the public's right of access to judicial proceedings. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the courts are required to provide reasonable accommodations so people with disabilities can access public proceedings. Doing the opposite and denying entry over a medically necessary visual aid raises serious concerns under those guidelines, including whether a reasonable modification was considered or denied. At minimum, why was it allowed before but not now? And was any accommodation even considered? And then there's another concern. During the same exchange, the judge brings up Christine Scott by name while discussing so-called sovereigns. This is the same judge who presided over Christine Scott's Clearwater cases involving allegations of trespass from court library and a city council meeting that raises a legitimate question about impartiality, including whether there is even the appearance of bias, which Florida courts have recognized can undermine confidence in the fairness of proceedings. Was that label that the judge gave her influencing how the court viewed her case? Because when someone receives 2 maximum sentences that are ran consecutive, one after the other, the appearance of bias matters just as much as actual bias. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not telling you to report this or who to report it to. I'm just showing you exactly what was said. On the record. And one last thing, because this part matters. There's a real irony here. Judges operate under judicial immunity, a powerful legal protection that shields them from liability for actions taken when they're on that bench. In other words, when they act in their official role, they're insulated in a way most people are not. That's almost the definition of sovereign. That's called sovereign immunity. But in this courtroom, you hear that same authority being used to label members of the public as sovereigns, not as a neutral description, but as a way to dismiss or discredit that person. So think about that. A courtroom where one side holds institutional power and legal immunity, while the other side gets labeled and minimized for questioning or documenting government conduct. Because as soon as opinionated labels replace facts and assumptions replace neutrality, the integrity of the judicial system starts to come into question. And that's exactly why transparency matters.
The court's back in session.
All right, I hear that, you guys can be seated. Thank you. That apparently inside my courtroom people are going to try to behave, but outside my courtroom people can't behave outside. If I have to have the entire courthouse full of deputies sitting there walking it outside my courtroom, I will.
We think we know who it is, and it's not somebody affiliated with either party who's out videotaping everybody.
It might be one of the sovereigns. We have a few that have nothing better to do than to hang out.
Yeah, we can identify the clothing of the female who was videotaping all, and we think that, we weren't up there. We were down getting ready for what we're doing, but.
Just so you're aware, when we were leaving, Mr. Smith-Levin was walking with me, and the lady, she's wearing a black what's it?
It's a Tampa Bay Lightning
shirt, and she was basically, within arm's reach of me as we were walking by doing that, and I just ignored it.
What's her name out of jail? Christine Scott?
Scott. I don't think so, not yet.
Okay, so it's not her. I seem to attract these cases.
But Your Honor, that is exactly who I was referencing earlier. There's another individual who is commonly with Miss Scott. So the one that I mentioned, the sunglasses, it's a sovereign. So yes,
Okay.
you might be along the right path there.
Okay, so yeah, they've got nothing better to do than to create issues. All right, The guy with the sunglasses come off, they go into his pocket, or he does not come into the courtroom.
I didn't know
Okay? I'm going to bring everybody in who is going to be watching the trial. They come in, everybody will be seated. Once they're in this courtroom and I start this trial, nobody leaves until I say I have a break. And then anybody outside who is not in here before I start this trial, they are not allowed to come in until I take a break.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And when I say take a break, that's me when I bring the jury out, they have a break and I'm moving on to something else. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So, because I do not want this to turn into chaos. There's too many people and I don't want them. They already did once when somebody walked in when I was reading instructions before we went to lunch, and 3 of the jurors were looking at the door. So I do not want that brought in here. So right now, State, you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, make an announcement in the hall.